Self-control begins with the understanding that your mind is not something you control once in a while, but something you must train every single day, like a muscle that grows stronger only through repetition and deliberate practice. When people think about discipline, they imagine a surge of motivation, a burst of energy, or a moment of inspiration that pushes them into action. But real discipline in the quiet, ordinary moments, the moments when no one is watching, the moments when the choice is small but the impact is enormous. Training your mind daily means developing the ability to confront discomfort instead of running from it, to choose what aligns your purpose rather than what feels easy in the moment, and to treat every decision as an opportunity to build the strongest, most focused version of yourself. Every morning you wake up, your brain begins negotiating with you, offering excuses, resisting effort, and pushing you toward comfort. And this is exactly where the training starts. Instead of giving in to that internal voice that says, sleep a little longer, scroll your phone, or you can start later, you take control by making the harder choice intentionally, calmly, and repeatedly. Each small decision becomes a rep, a mental push up that strengthens your ability to override impulse and follow intention. And just like a physical workout, the more consistently you train, the easier the reps become, the stronger the habit grows, and the more natural self-control starts to feel. Progress also helps you develop resilience. When you stop expecting flawlessness, you no longer break down when things go wrong. Instead, you adjust, you learn, you try again. Resilience is one of the strongest forms of self-control because it prevents you from falling permanently after a temporary setback. When progress becomes your focus, start to see setback aesthetics as normal and temporary instead of final and defining. Choosing progress over perfection also builds self-compassion. You stop attacking yourself for mistakes. You stop carrying guilt. You stop living in shame. Instead, you treat yourself with understanding. You speak to yourself kindly. You push yourself with love instead of pressure. This self-compassion gives you emotional balance, which directly fuels your ability to control your actions and thoughts. Over time, you begin to notice that small steps taken consistently bring bigger results than trying to be perfect. Begin to see growth in your habit set, your mindset, your behavior, and your emotional strength. Self-control becomes a natural part of your life because you are no longer fighting yourself. You are guiding yourself. You are supporting yourself. You are allowing yourself to evolve slowly, steadily, and beautifully. This is the real path to lasting change. In the end, the journey towards stronger self-control is not about becoming a perfect person. It is about becoming a powerful person, a person who understands their emotions, their habits, their weaknesses, and their potential, a person who chooses growth over comfort, purpose over distraction, and strength over impulse. Every pause you practice, every routine you build, every reason you strengthen, every small victory you train for, and every step of progress you honor moves you closer to the life you desire. Self-control is not built in a moment. It is built in the quiet decisions you make every day. It rises slowly through discipline, dedication, and courage. It grows when you fall and stand again. It grows when you refuse to give up on yourself. It grows when you believe that the future you want is worth fighting for. If you continue this path with patience and determination, you will discover a new version of yourself. A version that is calmer, clearer, stronger, and more focused. A version that leads your life instead of being led by impulses. A version that honors your dreams with action. And when that version emerges, you will realize that self-control was just a skill. It was never just freedom. It was your power. It was your path to becoming everything you were meant to be. And now the rest of the journey is in your hands. Keep moving. Keep growing. Keep choosing the best version of yourself. Your future is waiting for you to take control. But training the mind isn't just about resisting distractions. It's about building awareness of your patterns, your triggers, your tendencies, and your emotional reactions. When you notice where you tend to slip, where you lose focus, or where your discipline weakens, you gain the ability to intervene early, redirect your attention, and close the gap between intention and action. The more you study your own mind, the more power you gain over it, because awareness creates choice, and choice creates control. Another essential part of training your mind daily is learning how to push through resistance. Resistance shows up as boredom, fear, hesitation, discomfort, or fatigue, and most people allow resistance to stop them before they even begin, but those who master self-control recognize resistance as a signal to push harder, not stop. Resistance is proof that your mind is growing stronger, because growth always comes packaged with discomfort. When you choose to take action, even when you feel resistance, you send a powerful message to your brain that you are the one in charge, not your impulses, not your emotions, not your excuses. Over time, this message becomes encoded in your identity, and you begin to see yourself as someone who does the hard things, someone who follows through, someone who doesn't break under pressure. Training your mind daily also means creating routines that reinforce discipline automatically. When a habit becomes part of your identity, you no longer debate whether to do it. You simply execute because it has become part of who you are. The more consistent you are, the less energy you waste deciding, negotiating, or arguing with yourself. You wake up and perform the task because the habit itself has trained your brain to expect action. This type of automatic discipline is one of the strongest forms of self-control because it removes emotion from the equation and replaces it with clarity, structure, and repetition. Ultimately, building self-control through daily mental training is about learning to command your attention, direct your energy, and manage your impulses with purpose. Every decision you make is a chance to strengthen your discipline. Every moment of resistance is a chance to grow, and every small victory is a step toward becoming the highest version of yourself. When you train your mind daily, not occasionally, you build the internal power that creates transformation, consistency, and lifelong self-mastery. Mastering the art of delayed gratification is one of the most powerful skills you can develop because it teaches your mind to value long-term fulfillment over pleasure. And this shift in thinking can completely transform your life. The truth is that your brain is wired to seek instant rewards. It craves comfort. It wants dopamine quickly. And it constantly pushes you toward choices that feel good in the moment, but take you further away from your goals. Every time you give into immediate pleasure, whether it's procrastinating, overrating, scrolling on endlessly, or avoiding responsibility, you strengthen the habit of emotional impulse over intentional action. But every time you resist the short-term temptation and choose the long-term benefit instead, you rewire your brain, you take back control, and you move closer to the future you actually want to live. Delayed gratification means being able to tell yourself now but later. And this sounds simple, yet it is one of the hardest things to practice, because the pull of instant comfort is strong and the discomfort of waiting feels heavy. But this discomfort is exactly what builds strength, because the more you practice resisting immediate pleasure, the more powerful your self-control becomes, and the more capable you become of achieving the results that require patience, strategy, and discipline. Success in any area of life, whether it's health, relationships, career, or mindset, is built on the ability to delay gratification, to make sacrifices today for a come tomorrow, and to choose growth over better for it again and again. To master delayed gratification, you must first understand that every decision has consequence. When you choose what feels good right now, you often pay the price later through stress, or lack of progress, or wasted time. But when you choose what benefits your future, you earn the reward in the form of confidence, achievement, stability, and pride. In this way, delayed gratification becomes a form of self-respect, a commitment to your future self, a promise that you will not abandon your goals for momentary pleasure. It is an agreement you make with yourself to prioritize what matters over what distracts, and this agreement is the foundation of long-term success. Another important part of mastering delayed gratification is learning how to manage emotions, because most impulsive decisions happen when you feel stressed, bored, frustrated, or tired. If you can learn to sit with discomfort instead of escaping it, you gain a powerful advantage because discomfort loses its control over you. When you learn to breathe, pause, reflect, and respond instead of reacting instantly, you begin to break the cycle of emotional impulsiveness. Over time, you develop the mental strength to choose purpose over impulse, and this is the true essence of discipline. Delayed gratification is also about creating a clear vision of what you want in your future. When your goals are clear, your mind finds it easier to resist temptation because you know what you're fighting for. Visualize the future you want to build, the version of yourself you want to become, the achievements you want to reach, and remind yourself that every small sacrifice brings you closer to that reality. When your vision is strong, temptation loses power, because nothing feels better than when you are building the life you want. Another way to grow willpower is by setting clear boundaries. Boundaries protect your energy and your focus. When you say no to things that distract you or drain you, you save your strength for things that matter. This builds discipline because you choose long-term benefit over short-term pleasure. Every time you protect your boundaries, you strengthen your inner courage. Training your willpower also requires patience. No muscle grows in a day and no discipline becomes perfect overnight. You will have days when you feel strong and days when you feel weak. What matters is that you do not quit. Even if you fall back into old habits, you can stand up again. Every rise makes you stronger. Every attempt trains your mind to keep going. With time, your willpower becomes a part of you. You start to trust yourself more. You start to believe in your ability to complete what you begin. Your self-control becomes steady and reliable. You no longer depend on motivation. You rely on discipline. You rely on the strength you built slowly day by day. And once your willpower becomes strong, there is almost nothing in life that you cannot achieve. Choosing progress over perfection is one of the most freeing and empowering decisions you can make on the journey to stronger self-control, because perfection creates pressure while progress creates growth. Many people fail to build discipline not because they are weak, but because they expect themselves to be flawless. When they make one mistake, they think everything is ruined. When they miss one day, they believe they have failed. This mindset destroys motivation and blocks growth. The truth is that perfection is impossible, but progress is always possible. When you shift your focus from being perfect to simply becoming better, your entire life begins to transform. Progress means understanding that change happens step by step. It respects the reality that you are a human being, not a machine. You will have days when you feel strong and days when you feel tired. You will have days when you make the right choices easily and days when you fall back in old habits. None of this means you are failing. It only means you are learning. Every learning process includes mistakes. Every journey includes moments of struggle. Accepting this truth gives you the strength to keep moving instead of giving up Perfection often comes from fear of judging, fear of disappointing yourself or others. But progress comes from courage to take small steps, courage to stand back up after falling, and courage to continue even when the results are slow. When you choose progress, you choose a kinder and stronger relationship with yourself. You allow yourself room to grow. You allow yourself time to develop discipline instead of demanding instant transformation. This gentle but powerful shift makes self-control much easier to build. Progress also teaches patience, which is essential for self-control. When you expect perfect results quickly, you become frustrated. That frustration leads to impulsive choices because your mind wants quick relief. But when you accept that growth takes time, you stay calm even during challenges. You understand that slow improvement is still improvement. You learn to appreciate the process instead of rushing toward an ideal, rushing toward an version of yourself that does not exist. Patience strengthens your emotional stability, which directly strengthens your self-control. Another important part of choosing progress over perfection is celebrating small wins. Every small achievement matters because it builds confidence. For example, when you resist one temptation, when you complete one task, or when you control one reaction, you should recognize that victory. These small wins stack up. They create momentum. They show you that change is happening even if it is gradual. When you celebrate small progress, you stay motivated to continue. When you ignore it, you lose hope. A person who honors their small steps eventually makes big leaps. Practicing delayed gratification doesn't require huge sacrifices all at once. It starts with small decisions, choosing to work for 5 minutes instead of scrolling, choosing to finish a task before relaxing, choosing to save money instead of spending it impulsively, choosing to respond patiently instead of reacting emotionally. These small decisions accumulate. They build momentum, they strengthen your willpower, and they gradually reshape your identity into someone who chooses long-term value over short-term comfort. Mastering delayed gratification is the key to unlocking a future defined by growth, success, and fulfillment. When you learn a way to focus, to delay pleasure, and to prioritize your goals, you gain a level of internal power that few people ever develop. You become someone who is driven by purpose, someone who is consistent, someone is unstoppable, and someone who builds a life worth being proud of. Removing temptations from your environment is one of the smartest and most effective ways to strengthen self-control, because no matter how disciplined you think you are, your behavior more the environment shapes your intentions ever will. Most people rely on sheer willpower, believing they can fight distraction through strength alone, but willpower is a limited resource. It drains throughout the day, and when you are stressed, tired, or overwhelmed, your brain will always choose the easiest path. This is why controlling your environment is not just helpful, it is necessary, because a clean, focused, structured space makes discipline easier. And a chaotic, tempting environment makes it nearly impossible to stay consistent. When you surround yourself with temptations, your brain is constantly negotiating with you, constantly resisting, constantly battling impulses, and this mental fight drains your energy and weakens your self-control. Every no-fee piece of clutter, every easily accessible distraction pulls a focus, demanding your attention. And even if you don't give in, the mere presence of temptation exhausts your mental strength. But when you remove those triggers from your environment, you reduce the amount of internal resistance required to stay disciplined, and your mind feels lighter, calmer, and more focused because it no longer has to fight against constant temptation. Creating an environment that supports your goals begins with being honest about what distracts you. If your phone steals your focus, put it in another room, turn it off, or use a blocking app. If junk food destroys your diet, stop buying it. Keep it out of your home and replace it with better options. If your workspace is cluttered, clean it, organize it, and remove anything that pulls your attention away from what matters. If certain people drain your motivation or trigger bad habits, limit your time with them or create boundaries that protect your peace. These decisions may seem small, but their impact is massive, because they eliminate the need the fight battles that you don't need to fight in the first place. A disciplined environment also means creating spaces that reinforce your habits instead of working against them. If you want to read more, keep a book visible on your desk instead of buried in a drawer. If you want to exercise, keep your equipment ready and accessible instead of hidden away. If you want to meditate, dedicate a quiet corner where your mind automatically associates the space with calm and mindfulness. The brain responds powerfully to cues, and when you create cues that align with your goals, your discipline becomes automatic, effortless, and natural. Building automatic discipline also requires patience, because habits take time to form, and the mind needs repetition before it accepts a behavior as normal. Many people quit too early expecting quick results, but the power of habits lies in their long-term impact, not their immediate rewards. When you stay consistent with small habits, you gradually reshape your lifestyle, your mindset, and your identity, and these changes create a stable foundation for self-control in every area of your life. Ultimately, making discipline automatic through small daily habits transforms your life from the inside out. You begin to act with intention instead of impulse. You build routines that protect your goals, and you become someone who follows through without needing constant motivation. These tiny, consistent steps form the supports your self-control, your confidence, and your long-term success, proving that small habits done daily create extraordinary results over time. Tracking your progress like a warrior in training is one of the most transformative habits you can build, because what you measure becomes real, and what you monitor becomes manageable, and what you track consistently becomes easier to improve. Most people live their lives reacting to circumstances, unaware of their patterns, blind to their weaknesses, and disconnected from the habits that shape their future. But when you begin tracking your actions, your thoughts, your consistency, and your progress, you bring awareness into your life, and awareness gives you power. It gives you clarity, accountability, and the ability to adjust your behavior in a way that leads you closer to your goals every single day. Tracking progress is not about being perfect. It is about being honest with yourself, because honesty allows you to see where you are slipping, where you are succeeding, and you write down you need to improve. When you write down your daily habits, your wins, your failures, your routines, and your distractions, you begin to recognize patterns that were previously invisible to you. Maybe you notice that your focus drops at a certain time, or that you procrastinate when you feel stressed, or that you perform better when you follow a morning routine. And this awareness gives you the ability to take control instead of staying stuck in autopilot. Every insight becomes a tool, every observation becomes a lesson, and every pattern becomes an opportunity to grow stronger. Tracking your progress also keeps you accountable, because once you start recording your actions, you can no longer hide from your habits. You see the truth on paper, you face the reality of your choices, and this self-awareness pushes you to do better. When you know you will have to track whether you exercised, studied, meditated, avoided distractions, or followed your routines, you become more disciplined throughout the day. The simple act of writing things down creates internal pressure that strengthens your self-control. And this pressure helps you stay consistent even when motivation fades. It is a silent but powerful reminder that your actions matter and that every day counts. One of the biggest advantages of tracking your progress is the ability to celebrate small wins, because many people fail to stay motivated simply because they don't recognize how much progress they are actually making. When you track your habits and see your streaks, your improvements, your effort, and your consistency, you build confidence, momentum, and pride. You begin to see yourself as someone who follows through, someone who improves, someone who shows up even when it's hard. This shift in self-image is incredibly important, because your identity shapes your actions. And when you begin to identify as a disciplined person, your behavior naturally aligns with that identity. Tracking also helps you learn from your setbacks without judging yourself harshly, because when you record a failure or a canalized habit, you can analyze instead of beating yourself up. You can ask why it happened, what triggered it, what you were feeling, and what you can do differently next time. This transforms failure into information, improvement, instead of information into improvement. When you slip, you learn, adjust, and keep moving forward. And this ability to adapt makes you resilient, determined, and mentally strong. In the end, everything comes down to one simple truth, kind of truth that separates the people who dream from the people who achieve, the kind of truth that shapes destinies and transforms lives. Self-control is not something you find. It's something you build. It's forged in the moments when no one is watching, strengthened in the decisions that feel small, and proven in the choices that challenge you the most. Your future doesn't belong to the most talented, the most gifted, or the most fortunate. It belongs to the ones who take control of their minds, their habits, their environment, their actions, every principle you've learned, every keto you've heard, every insight you've understood leads to this. Your life will only change when you change how you think, how you act, and how you respond to the world around you. You must be willing to delay comfort, to limit distractions, to build small habits, to track your progress, and to push past resistance even when it feels impossible. This is how self-control grows. This is how discipline becomes a part of your identity. And this is how ordinary people become extraordinary.